Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the technology that holds your entire digital life. Yeah, everything from your OS to your family photos. So, let's start with a question you've probably never really stopped to think about. Why doesn't your computer just get a case of total amnesia every time you shut it down? The answer, my friends, is something called secondary storage. And that really gets to the heart of it all, this basic, fundamental need for some kind of permanent, long-term memory in pretty much every computer system we use. Okay, so check this out. This diagram shows you exactly what's happening. When the power is off, everything, your operating system, your apps, all your documents, they're all just sitting there, safe and sound in secondary storage. Then, when you hit that power button, the computer grabs what it needs and loads it into its short-term memory, which we call RAM. You can think of secondary storage like the computer's library, and RAM is the desk where it's currently working. Now, the magic word that makes all this possible is non-volatile. It's just a fancy way of saying that the memory holds on to your information even when the electricity is gone. It doesn't just, poof, disappear into thin air. All right, so now that we get why it's so important, let's dig into the three main flavors of secondary storage that you're going to find out there in the real world. First up, we've got magnetic storage. You're probably looking at the inside of a traditional hard disk drive, or HDD. These things have been the absolute workhorses of the computing world for decades now. And how they work is actually pretty wild. There's this little arm that zips back and forth over a metal platter that's spinning thousands of times a minute. It magnetizes these teeny tiny spots to represent all your data, all the ones and zeros. It's kind of like a super fast, incredibly precise record player, but for your digital files. So what's the trade-off with these? Well, on the one hand, you get a ton of storage capacity for the lowest price per gigabyte. That's awesome for hoarding data. But the catch is, with all those moving parts, they're not the fastest, and they're definitely more fragile. You don't want to be dropping these things. All right, moving on to our second type, optical storage. And I'm pretty sure you recognize these guys, right? We're talking CDs, DVDs, and of course, Blu-ray discs. The way this works is just fascinating. A laser literally burns microscopic pits into the surface of the disk. That's how it writes the data. Then, a less powerful laser comes along and reads those little pits and bumps back. So it's a physical, permanent change to the disk itself. Now, these are obviously super portable, they're easy to hand to a friend, but their capacity is pretty low by today's standards. They're the slowest of the bunch, and as we all know from our old music collections, they get scratched so easily. And that brings us to the new champion on the block, solid-state storage. This tech is everywhere now, from the wicked fast solid-state drive or SSD in your laptop to those little USB sticks and the tiny SD cards you use in your camera. The secret sauce here is right in the name, solid state. It uses flash memory chips, basically electronic circuits, to store data. And the absolute game changer? There are zero moving parts. None. That means it's silent, uses less power, and is way, way more durable. So when it comes to solid state, the story is pretty clear. You get absolutely incredible speed and rock-solid durability. Your computer boots in seconds, programs just snap open, and you don't have to worry so much if you bump it. The only real downside, it's still the most expensive option, gigabyte for gigabyte. Okay, so we've got these three different technologies, and they all have their own unique strengths. So the big question is, how on earth do you pick the right one for what you're trying to do? Let's just break it down with three really common situations. What if you need raw speed? What if you're just trying to back up your gigantic movie collection? Or what if you just need to give a file to somebody? For that first scenario, you need speed and performance. It's not even a contest. You want a solid-state drive. For your operating system or for playing video games, the difference in speed it's just night and day. It's a total game changer. Okay, scenario 2, backing up huge files for the long term. You've got a massive library of photos or movies. Here, the sheer capacity and low cost of a magnetic hard disk drive make it the clear winner. You get the most storage bang for your buck. And finally, our third scenario, just sharing a file. You need to give a presentation to a colleague. Well, for that, you just can't beat the pure convenience of a solid-state USB stick. It's small, it's tough enough to live on your keychain, and you can plug it into almost anything. So now that we've seen how to pick the right tool for the job, let's just boil this all down and recap the most important points from today's explainer. If you only remember one thing, make it this. Magnetic is for when you need massive capacity for less cash.
Solid state is all about blazing speed and toughness. And optical, that's your go-to for simple, cheap portability.
And that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. Our digital lives are exploding. We create more data every single day. So as that world keeps growing, you have to wonder, what's next? What kind of wild new technology are we going to need to store it all in the future?